The arrival, the hook. The night was quiet over the small coastal town of Greyport. The sea whispered against the rocks, and most people were asleep in their warm homes. Only a few late-night fishermen were out on the dark water, their boats rocking. Gently under the stars, Captain Daniel Reeve sat on his porch with a mug of coffee, staring at the calm ocean. He was a man who had seen war before, but tonight, everything felt too still, too perfect. Then the sky changed. It began with a faint hum, so low it felt more than heard, like the deep growl of something enormous under the earth. Daniel frowned and stood up. The stars above started to vanish, one by one, as a black shape grew larger in the sky. At first, he thought it was a cloud. Then the lights appeared. They were not the gentle white of airplanes. They were sharp, cold beams, blue, red, and gold, cutting across the night like knives. The hum turned into a roar, and the fishermen in the bay began shouting. Daniel's coffee cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the porch. Something massive was moving above Greyport. People came out of their houses, pointing and gasping. Children clung to their parents. Phones lit up as everyone began recording, thinking this was some strange meteor or military test. Then came the voice. It boomed from everywhere at once. No source, no direction, just there. A deep, commanding tone that spoke in words every human could understand. Humans. This world is now under the authority of the Zirith Dominion. You will obey. You will serve. Resistance will bring destruction. Gasps filled the street. Some people laughed nervously, thinking it was some cruel prank. Others began to run inside. Daniel didn't move. He had heard voices like that before. Not human, but sure of their power. The black shape in the sky lowered, revealing its true size. It was not one ship, it was many. Dozens of enormous vessels slid into view, each shaped like a blade, their undersides glowing with strange symbols. Smaller craft peeled away from the motherships, diving toward towns and cities. In minutes, the first alien soldiers appeared. They were tall, over 7 feet, wearing armor that looked like molten metal frozen in motion. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks with glowing slits for eyes. Weapons crackled in their hands, emitting thin beams of green light. A young man down the street shouted at them, waving a baseball bat. One of the soldiers raised his weapon, and the boy was wrapped instantly in a cage of golden energy. The cage lifted into the air, vanishing into the belly of a passing ship. He was gone. Screams broke out. People ran. The soldiers moved with calm precision, taking humans one by one, no rushing, no shouting, just a slow, unstoppable harvest. Daniel's jaw tightened. He stepped back into his house, opened a locked cabinet, and pulled out an old military rifle. It was not much against whatever these things were, but it was something. Through his window, he saw his neighbor, Mrs. Harper, struggling as 2 alien soldiers dragged her son toward a dropship. The boy's small hands clawed at the dirt, his voice breaking as he screamed for his mother. Daniel's pulse pounded. He had seen enough war to know when something could not be stopped, at least not yet. But he also knew he could not watch and do nothing. He moved quietly along the side of his house, staying low. The drop ship was parked just 50 meters away, its ramp open, a strange humming coming from inside. The soldiers tossed another cage. Into it this one holding 2 terrified fishermen. Daniel's eyes scanned the street. The aliens didn't seem to notice him. Not yet. The air changed again. A deeper hum. The ground trembled slightly. Above, the largest ship shifted position. Its underside opened, revealing something like a black, spinning eye. Light began to swirl inside it, building, growing, pulsing with power. It was aimed at the center of the town. Daniel didn't know what it was. But his gut told him it was about to erase Greyport from the map. Then one of the alien soldiers turned its glowing eyes toward him. It tilted its head. The weapon in its hands lit up. Daniel's single quotes S fingers tightened on the rifle. His breath slowed. The soldier took one step forward. And then the ramp of the dropship began to close inside. Daniel caught a glimpse of Mrs. Harper's boy, still screaming, reaching out through the bars of the golden cage. The hum of the sky grew deafening. First below, Daniel didn't think he moved. In one smooth motion. He raised his rifle and fired. The crack of the shot tore through the night, and the alien soldier's head jerked back. It fell without a sound, the green weapon clattering against the street. The dropship's ramp began to close faster. Daniel ran. His boots pounded on the wet pavement as he sprinted, sliding the last few feet and leaping onto the ramp. His shoulder slammed against the metal, just as it sealed shut behind him. Inside, the air was hot and smelled like burning metal. Rows of golden cages lined the walls, each one holding terrified humans. Some begged for help. Others stared blankly. Too shocked to speak, the pilot, another armored alien, turned in its seat. It made a clicking sound, and Daniel didn't wait to find out what it meant. He dived behind a stack of glowing crates as green bolts of energy lit up the cabin. He grabbed the alien's fallen weapon from the floor. It was heavier than it looked, the grip warm, almost alive. Instinct took over. Daniel fired. The alien pilot's chest armor sizzled and cracked, and the creature slumped forward, smoke curling from its mask. The dropship tilted violently. Alarm screamed in an alien language. Daniel stumbled to the pilot's seat, gripping the strange controls. He didn't know how to fly alien craft, but he knew one thing. He could crash it exactly where it would hurt. The view screen showed Greyport below, its streets crawling with soldiers. Daniel saw the largest patrol group moving toward the harbor. He aimed for it. "Hold on," he shouted, though none of the prisoners could do anything. The dropship plunged. It smashed into the harbor in a deafening blast of fire and water, throwing alien soldiers in every direction. Daniel's head slammed against the console, but he was already forcing himself to stand. The cages around him flickered, power failing. From the crash, he kicked one open and pulled out Mrs. Harper's boy. "Run to the woods," he ordered. "Don't stop for anything." The boy nodded, tears streaking his face, and sprinted away with the others as their cages failed one by one. The harbor was chaos. Aliens shouted in their strange tongue, trying to regroup. Daniel ducked behind the wreckage and opened fire with the alien rifle, picking targets carefully. Every time they raised their weapons, he waited for the shield drop 3 seconds, and then shot. A fisherman he recognized crawled from the water, holding a harpoon gun. Daniel waved him over. The man joined him behind the burning ship, both firing in bursts, buying time for the freed prisoners to escape. But then the sound came again, the deep, vibrating hum. Daniel looked up. A smaller alien craft was descending fast. Its open underside glowed with swirling light. He realized they weren't just here to recapture the escapees. They were here to erase the entire harbor. He grabbed the fisherman by the shoulder. "Go! Get to the woods. What about you?" "I'll keep them busy." Daniel sprinted toward the burning dropship, scanning for anything explosive. He spotted a crate half sunk in the water, glowing faintly blue. If the aliens didn't want it damaged, it was exactly what he needed. He hauled it out, coughing from the smoke, and yanked at its locking clamps. The crate hissed open, revealing a swirling core of unstable energy. It pulsed in time with the deep hum above. Daniel's lips tightened. "Yeah, you'll do." He dragged the crate to the highest point of the wreckage and braced it toward the descending craft. He had no detonator, no timer, just the alien rifle in his hands. The alien ship lowered, its glow blinding now. Daniel waited until he could see the pilot's mask through the shimmering light. Then he fired. The shot hit the crate's core. The explosion was instant and massive, a blue-white flash that tore the smaller ship apart and sent burning debris raining over the harbor. The shockwave knocked Daniel flat, the world spinning around him. When he could see again, the harbor was silent. Alien soldiers lay scattered, their armor smoking. The surviving humans were gone safe in the woods. Daniel pushed himself to his feet. His ribs ached, his ears rang. But he was still alive. Somewhere above, the massive mothership shifted position. Daniel could feel their attention now. They would come for him. And they wouldn't stop. The resistance awakens. Daniel followed the voice. The night air was cold, and smoke still drifted over the ruined harbor. He kept his rifle ready, scanning the dark. A faint light flashed twice from the woods, like a signal. He moved carefully, stepping over broken wood and alien metal. The closer he got, the more he could hear low voices, human voices. In a small clearing, 4 figures waited. They wore mismatched gear, old military jackets, construction helmets, hunting vests. One woman stepped forward, a scar across her cheek. "Name's Mara," she said. "We've been hitting alien patrols for 3 nights. Heard about what you did at the harbor. Impressive." Daniel kept his rifle lowered, but his eyes stayed sharp. "You people organized?" "Sort of," Mara said. "Not enough weapons, not enough ammo, but plenty of anger." She handed him a small earpiece. "Welcome to the voice of Earth." When Daniel put it on, a steady murmur filled his ear. Reports, coordinates, warnings. A man's voice spoke clearly through the noise. "All units, be advised, Dominion transports moving prisoners out of East Ridge. Estimated departure, sunrise." Daniel's gut tightened. "How far is East Ridge?" 2 hours if we move now," Mara said. "Then what are we waiting for?" They set out at once. The group moved through the forest, keeping to shadows. Every now and then, alien drones swept overhead, beams of light slicing through the trees. Each time they froze, holding their breath until the hum passed. As they marched, Mara explained more. The Zereth Dominion wasn't just here for resources. They wanted people. Humans were strong, adaptable, and could survive conditions other species couldn't. To them, humanity was cheap labor for their war machines. "They're taking thousands off planet every day," Mara said. "Soon they'll have the numbers to break any resistance." Daniel's hands tightened on his rifle. "Not if I can stop them," he thought. By the time they reached East Ridge, the first hint of dawn touched the sky. From a rocky overlook, Daniel could see the alien base below. It was built on the ruins of an old quarry, black towers rising where stone once stood. In the center, a transport ship waited, its ramp lowered. Lines of humans, men, women, even children were being marched aboard. Alien soldiers stood in rows, their glowing eyes scanning for trouble. Daniel counted 6 watchtowers, each with a heavy energy cannon. "This won't be easy," Mara whispered. Daniel scanned the scene. The ship's shields pulsed every few seconds, dropping, just long enough for loading to happen. Same weakness he'd seen before. He turned to the group. "2 of you take the watchtowers on the west side. Mara, you're with me on the east. When I give the signal, we hit the shield generator." "What's the signal?" "You'll know it," Daniel said, eyes narrowing. They crept down the slope, using broken stone for cover. Daniel's heart beat steady, too steady, almost calm. This was the part of war he knew best, the moment before everything exploded. From behind a crate, he aimed at the nearest tower. The alien inside turned his head just as Daniel fired. The energy bolt punched through the armor, sending the body crashing over the rail. Mara's rifle cracked twice, another tower silenced. The aliens reacted instantly. Alarms blared, and soldiers moved toward the noise. Daniel dashed forward, weaving between crates until he saw the shield generator, a black, humming device the size of a car. "Mara, cover me." She laid down a storm of fire as Daniel sprinted to the generator. 3 soldiers rushed him, their shields dropping as they fired. He slid to the ground, firing upward 3 shots, 3 kills. The generator was heavily armored. Daniel slammed the alien rifle's barrel against it, holding the trigger. The metal glowed, cracked, then burst in a shower of sparks. The shield around the transport flickered and died. That's the signal. Someone shouted over the comms. From the west side, more gunfire erupted as the other team took down their targets. Prisoners began running in all directions, guards chasing them in confusion. Daniel charged toward the transport ramp. A tall alien officer stepped in his path, swinging a curved blade of green light. Daniel ducked, firing point-blank into its chest. The alien dropped with a metallic thud dot. He reached the prisoner still trapped inside and blasted the control panel. The golden cages shattered, and the people rushed out, shouting thanks as they fled. A shadow passed over the quarry. Daniel looked up and his stomach tightened. One of the motherships was descending. Its massive underside split open, revealing that same swirling black eye he'd seen over Greyport. Only this time, the glow was brighter, angrier. Mara ran up beside him, panting. "They're going to wipe the whole base." Daniel grabbed her arm. "Then we need to be gone before they fire." They herded as many freed prisoners as they could into the forest. The hum grew louder, the air shaking. Just as the first beam of energy lashed down, they vanished into the trees. The strike at dawn. The sun had not yet risen when Daniel and Mara reached the Resistance's hidden camp. It was deep in the forest, built from salvaged materials, tents, old vehicles, and scraps of alien metal. People moved quickly between stations, carrying weapons, loading ammo, and repairing gear. A tall man with a thick beard stepped forward. "This him?" he asked Mara. She nodded. "Daniel Reeve, the one who wrecked a dropship in Greyport." The man offered a hand. "Call me Briggs. I run the operations here, and you just got promoted, whether you like it or not." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Promoted to what?" Briggs grinned grimly. "To the guy who's going to help us take down their relay tower before sunrise." Briggs pulled up a holographic map, the projection flickering in the cool morning air. A black spire stood in the middle of the map. "This is the Dominion's planetary relay. It's how their fleet coordinates and powers their ground forces. Destroy it, and we buy humanity a few precious hours to hit back everywhere at once." Daniel studied the map. The tower was surrounded by a high wall, 2 guard stations, and a mech yard. "What about defenses?" he asked. "Heavy," Briggs said. "But the relay's shield drops for 60 seconds at dawn to realign with the fleet. That's our only window." Daniel looked up. "Then we go in at first light." The team was small Daniel, Mara, Briggs, and 6 more fighters. They moved through the forest in the dark, careful not to make noise. The ground was damp with dew, the smell of pine mixing with the faint metallic taste of alien machinery in the air dot in the distance. The relay tower loomed, its black surface pulsing faintly like a living thing. Daniel felt a shiver crawl up his spine. This was not just technology, it felt alive. They reached the outer wall, just as the horizon began to glow pale orange. Alien sentries stood watch, their eyes scanning the darkness. Daniel signaled, and Mara took the first shot silent, precise. 1 guard dropped without a sound. The team scaled the wall quickly, using grappling hooks made from scavenged ship parts. On the other side, the mech yard slept 5 massive alien walkers, standing in a row like statues. Daniel whispered. "Avoid the mechs. If they wake up, we're dead." They moved to the base of the tower. Up close, it was even more intimidating. Hundreds of alien cables snaked into the ground, humming with strange energy. Briggs planted charges at the support struts. 5 minutes after detonation, this thing will come down, he said. Daniel checked his watch. The 60-second shield drop was coming fast out. Suddenly, a deep mechanical sound rolled across the yard. One of the mechs moved its head, scanning the shadows. Its glowing eyes locked onto Daniel. "Run!" he shouted. The mech roared to life, its massive legs pounding the ground. Energy blasts ripped through the air, melting holes in the wall. The team scattered, firing as they moved. Daniel sprinted toward the tower, weaving between burning crates. Mara shouted over the comms, 30 seconds until shield drop. Daniel dove behind a crate as a blast seared past his head. He aimed at the mech's knee, joint 3 rapid shots. The armor cracked, the leg buckled, and the massive machine crashed into the ground. 15 seconds. Mara yelled. Daniel and Briggs reached the main control panel at the tower's base. Alien symbols glowed on the surface. Briggs pulled out a hacked datapad and slammed it into the interface. The screen flashed red. "Now!" Mara screamed. The air shimmered. The tower's shield flickered and died. Daniel hit the detonator. The explosion tore through the tower's base. Fire and shards of black metal shot into the air. The top half of the spire tilted, groaning like a dying giant, before collapsing in a thunderous crash. The shockwave knocked Daniel off his feet, the ground trembling under him. When the smoke cleared, the relay was nothing but twisted wreckage. In the distance, alien comms went silent. No more coordinated patrols, no more instant reinforcements. Cheers erupted over the comms from other resistance cells. But Daniel didn't smile. He knew this wasn't the end. Overhead, the sky darkened. The largest Dominion mothership began to move, positioning itself directly above their location. Daniel's earpiece crackled. "Reeve, they know it was you. And they're sending their commander." The battle for the ship. The alien shuttle touched down with a hiss of steam, its landing claws sinking into the wet dirt. From the shadows of the trees, Daniel watched the ramp lower. A tall figure stepped out. The alien commander was larger than the others, his armor black as obsidian, with glowing red lines that pulsed like veins. His mask was shaped like a predator's skull, and his weapon was unlike anything Daniel had seen, a long staff ending in a crackling energy blade. The commander scanned the battlefield, his voice carrying like thunder. "Human, step forward. I know you are here." Mara whispered. "He's taunting you." Daniel's eyes stayed locked on the alien. "Then let's make him regret it." Over the comms, Briggs' voice came through, urgent. "Reeve, forget him. Priority target is the slave transport launching from the desert base in 30 minutes. If it gets off the ground, we lose thousands of people." Daniel clenched his jaw. They couldn't waste time. But the commander, he was here for a reason. "All right," Daniel said. "We take him and the ship." The resistance split into 2 groups. Mara, leading half to sabotage the transport. Daniel taking the rest to keep the commander busy. The fight started fast. Daniel's team opened fire, drawing the commander's soldiers into the trees. The aliens moved like a pack of wolves, working together to flush humans out of cover. Daniel used hit-and-run tactics, never staying in one spot long enough to be cornered. But the commander, he moved differently. He didn't rush. He stalked. Every step was calculated, every block and counter flawless. Daniel ducked behind a rock as the commander's blade cut through a tree like paper. Sparks and splinters flew. "You fight well." "For prey," the alien said, his voice calm. Daniel smirked. "You talk too much." Meanwhile, In the distance, Mara's team reached the desert base. The massive slave transport stood on its launch platform, its engines already warming. Cages full of humans were being loaded one by one. Mara signaled her team to plant explosives on the landing struts. But the base's alarms, blared enemy reinforcements, had spotted them. "We're out of time." Mara shouted over the comms. "Daniel, you better give us an opening, or this ship's leaving with everyone on it." Daniel knew what he had to do. He broke cover, firing at the commander to draw him away from the others. The alien blocked each shot with his staff, advancing. Slowly, they clashed in the open clearing, Daniel using the alien rifle in one hand and a combat knife in the other. The commander's blade hummed with deadly energy, each swing forcing Daniel to dodge or parry. Daniel's arms ached. One wrong move and he'd be cut in half. But then he noticed something. The commander's armor had a gap at the side, near the power core on his back. If he could get behind him. Back at the desert base, Mara's team was pinned down. The transport's engines roared louder moments from liftoff. She made a desperate call. "Daniel, we need that distraction now." Daniel feigned a stumble, baiting the commander into a wide swing. He rolled under it, coming up behind the alien and slamming his knife into the gap in the armor. The commander roared, spinning to strike, but Daniel was already diving away. The stab hadn't killed him, but it had done something better. The power core sparked violently, discharging energy in wild arcs. Nearby alien soldiers stumbled, their weapons flickering as systems failed. Over the comms, Mara's voice lit up. "That's it. Their shields are down." Mara's team rushed forward, planting the last of the explosives. They blew the struts, just as the transport tried to lift off. With a deafening screech of tearing metal, the massive ship toppled sideways, smashing into the base in a fireball. The humans inside were freed, scattering toward the safety of the desert dunes. Daniel faced the wounded commander. The alien's mask flickered, revealing part of his reptilian face-dark scales, sharp teeth. "You are not like the others," the commander hissed. Daniel leveled his rifle. "No, I'm worse." He fired, the blast hitting the damaged power core. The commander vanished in a burst of light and smoke. The comms erupted with cheers. Riggs' voice cut through. "We've got the people out, but the fleet's moving. They're charging something big in orbit." Daniel's gaze lifted to the night sky, where faint blue lines of energy began to form across the belly of the largest mothership. Humanity's fury, the desert sky glowed with alien light. High above, the mothership's underbelly pulsed with power-thin blue lines of energy weaving into a massive beam weapon. When it fired, it would erase everything for miles. Daniel stood. With Mara and Briggs in the sand, the rescued prisoners huddled behind them. "Briggs," Daniel said, "we've got one chance. Can we get up there?" Briggs gave a sharp nod. "We captured a Dominion shuttle last week. Barely works, but it can reach orbit." Daniel glanced at the glow overhead. "Then we leave now." Minutes later, the Resistance scrambled onto the battered shuttle hidden beneath a camouflaged tarp. Its hull was scorched, and its right engine made a constant whining noise. But the cockpit lit up when Briggs slammed his hand on the controls. "Strap in," he barked. "If this thing blows up before we reach space, I'll apologize in advance." The shuttle roared to life, engines kicking up sand as it shot into the night sky. Gravity pressed them into their seats. Through the forward window, the alien fleet grew larger, massive blade-shaped ships drifting in perfect formation. The mothership at the center looked like a city turned upside down, bristling with weapons. As they approached, Mara leaned over Daniel's shoulder. "That thing could hold an army." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "And let's make sure none of them ever come back." Briggs angled the shuttle toward a docking bay on the mothership's underside. Daniel recognized it from alien patrol ships, probably for repairs and supply drops. They slipped in without challenge, hidden by the chaos below on Earth. The shuttle touched down inside a hangar the size of a stadium. Dozens of alien workers moved crates, their heads snapping up as Daniel and his team poured out. Weapons ready, the first shots dropped the nearest guards. The rest scattered, shouting warnings in their harsh language. Daniel pointed toward a door marked with alien runes. That leads to the core. Move. The corridors inside were narrow and lit with pulsing red lights. The air felt heavy, charged, with energy. Every corner brought another squad of soldiers, but the resistance moved like a blade swift, precise, cutting through anything in their way. Daniel's rifle hummed with heat as they reached a massive blast door. Briggs slapped a charge on it. The explosion shook the deck, revealing a huge chamber beyond Dot. At the center was the heart of the mothership, an enormous spinning reactor, its surface alive with streams of blue light. Cables as thick as trees fed into it from every direction. This powers their orbital weapon, Briggs said. We blow it, the whole ship goes dark. But before they could move, a deep voice echoed through the chamber. Daniel froze. The alien commander stepped from the shadow's armor, blackened and scorched, but still alive. You think you can kill my ship, human? The commander growled. Daniel raised his rifle. I've killed worse. The fight was brutal. The commander's staff whirled in deadly arcs, each strike shaking Daniel's bones when he blocked. Mara fired from the side, forcing the alien to shift position. Daniel darted in low, slashing with his combat knife, but the commander's armor turned most blows. Finally, Daniel baited him into overextending. The alien swung wide. Daniel sidestepped, shoving the barrel of his rifle into the gap in the armor he'd hit before. He pulled the trigger. The blast punched through, the commander stumbling back, roaring in rage. Daniel didn't stop 3 more shots until the alien collapsed to one knee. You, the commander hissed, voice weakening, will regret this. Daniel fired one last time. The commander fell still. Briggs was already planting explosives around the reactor. 2 minutes until this thing goes up, he called. The team sprinted back toward the shuttle, alarms screaming throughout the ship. Alien soldiers flooded the hangar, but the resistance fought their way through, blaster bolts slicing the air. Daniel was the last to board. Briggs hit the launch controls, and the shuttle blasted out of the hangar just as the mothership began to tear itself apart. From space, they watched the explosion. The reactor went first, a brilliant flash that ripped through the ship's spine. The blast spread in a chain reaction, consuming the mothership and setting off secondary explosions across the fleet. The weapon never fired. Instead, the sky over Earth lit up with burning alien wreckage, falling like shooting stars. Daniel leaned back in his seat, breathing hard. We're not done, he said quietly. Mara glanced at him. You just destroyed their flagship. How is that not done? They'll be back, Daniel said. Next time. We'll be ready. The defeat and the shame. The shuttle touched down in the Resistance's forest camp, engines hissing. The survivors poured out, cheering and hugging one another. For the first time in days, the air didn't feel heavy with fear, but Daniel wasn't. Smiling, the message still echoed in his head. The Dominion Council wishes to speak in person. Briggs frowned when Daniel told him. It's a trap, he said. Maybe, Daniel replied. But if we refuse, they'll just send more ships. This time, I end it. The meeting place was set an abandoned airfield on the outskirts of a ruined city. The council ship arrived at dawn, sleek and silver, unlike the black warships Daniel had fought before. Its ramp lowered, and 6 alien figures emerged, taller and more ornate than the soldiers. Their armor was covered in ceremonial markings, their faces hidden behind masks carved like predators. The lead counselor stepped forward. His voice was deep but calm. "Human Reeve, you have destroyed our flagship, killed our commander, and freed our captives. Why?" Daniel didn't hesitate. "Because we don't bow. You came here for slaves. You leave here with nothing." A murmur rippled through the council. The lead counselor's tone hardened. "We could return with 10 times the ships you have." "Destroyed. Earth cannot win forever." Daniel stepped closer, his voice low but sharp. "You think we're fighting alone? Every human you've tried to break is now part of the resistance. We've studied your weapons. We've stolen your tech. Next time, we won't just defend Earth. We'll take the fight to you." Silence. The alien stared at him. Then the lead counselor laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You are dangerous for such a primitive race." Daniel smirked. "You haven't seen dangerous yet." He tossed something at their feet. It was a shard of metal, the commander's broken mask. The counselors froze, recognizing it instantly. Daniel leaned in. "That's what happens to anyone who comes for us." Briggs' voice came over the cum in Daniel's ear. "Reeve, fleet sensors show movement. They're pulling back." Sure enough, in the distance, the dark shapes of the Dominion warships began to drift away from Earth, one by one. The counselors stepped back toward their shuttle, their voices clipped and cold. "This is not peace, human. This is only postponement." Daniel gave a single nod. "Call it whatever you want. But when history remembers this day, it'll say you left in defeat and in shame." The council ship lifted off, vanishing into the pale morning sky. Across the world, humans stepped out from hiding, watching as the alien fleet disappeared into the clouds. The resistance camp erupted in celebration. Mara grinned, clapping Daniel on the back. "You actually did it. You made them leave." Daniel looked out toward the horizon. "No, we did it. Every single human on this planet." Later that night, fires burned in the camp, not for destruction, but for warmth. People sang, shared food, and told stories of the battles they'd fought. Some still wept for those lost. But their tears were no longer for fear. They were for memory. Daniel sat on a log, watching the sparks rise into the dark sky. Mara sat beside him. "So, what now?" she asked. Daniel thought for a long moment. "Now, we rebuild. We make Earth stronger than it's ever been. Because one day, the Dominion will come back, and when they do, they'll find a world they can't touch." The next morning, the sun rose over a free Earth. Ships lay broken in the oceans. Alien wreckage scattered across the deserts and forests. But the people walked with their heads high. The war wasn't over forever. But this battle, the one that began with the aliens coming for human slaves, was won. Final scene. Daniel stood on a hill overlooking the sea, the wind tugging at his jacket. He remembered that first night, the black ships blotting out the stars. And now the stars were clear. Again, he spoke quietly to himself, almost a promise. They came for slaves, and left with nothing but shame.